Hello YouTube, this is Super Person, and I'm here to show you how to set up a saltwater aquarium. And this is a Nano saltwater aquarium. And over a couple of videos, I'm going to show you, from beginning to end, my tank, my new little 5-gallon tank, that'll start from nothing and become a successful saltwater tank with soft corals inside of it. Now, I hope I can really educate you guys on how to do this. It's really not difficult. I find saltwater tanks like 100% easier than freshwater because the live rock basically maintains itself. But we'll go into that in another video. So, yeah, this is me starting the video series. And I haven't done anything. I literally just went out and bought the stuff I need. And this is from my memory. It's been like a year since I've even messed with fish. So, here's the beginning. Now, what you'll need depends on what size tank you're going for. I'm going to assume since you're watching this, you're doing a nano tank, which nano usually means about 10 and under. At least that's in my book. I mean, anyone could say nano. Some people say nano's 15 and under, 20 is really tiny. I think 20 you're getting up there. But, okay, so you're trying to start a nano tank, and it should be decently small. Now, I'm starting a 5-gallon. And this is basically what you'll need for a 5-gallon tank. And my tank's sort of different because it has its inbuilt filter, but, you know, it's basically the same thing. And also on a side note, this is my new Android phone I'm using as the camera, which is why I'm holding it and talking into it. So, if it kind of moves a lot, that's because I've never done this before, so bear with me. So anyway, here's what you'll need to start a tank. For one, you're going to need a tank. Now, I bought this new one they had on sale at PetSmart. It's called, obviously, the Fluval Spec. It's a 5-gallon tank. It's real nice looking because it's very modern, I guess. It's very clean cut. Like the other tanks I've had, big and small, were always clunky. They didn't have inbuilt filters. I did a lot of DIY stuff, DIY pumps and filters for mine. So this time I'm going to get one with a built-in filter, and it'll be fine. Now, this one does have a built-in filter in the back of it. It has charcoal, you know, all the typical stuff, nothing intense. And it's really nice. And what's really cool about this tank, which is really helpful if you guys want to start a saltwater tank, is the lights. Now, lights are really important for tanks because if you want coral, you're going to need decent lighting. Now, I had a 5-gallon saltwater tank a couple of years ago, and I just had a fluorescent bulb that was a Coral Life bulb. And I had some soft corals in there. Did they thrive? No. Did they die? No. They were okay, but they didn't thrive and do great like when I had my 29-gallon tank and I had T5s. They were really doing great with that. So, and this one, which I think is really cool, is that it has LED lights. It actually has a day and night light. So that means, like when I had my T5 lights, it had the nice, obviously, lights, and it had the blue lights. Which I think is really nice that this one has the blue lights, because I don't know if corals need that. I don't think they really do. It's really for us. But, you know, for the nighttime thing, they need special lighting, don't get me wrong. But for nighttime, I don't think they really need the blue light. But I think it looks amazing, and I do slightly think it may help coral. But just having LED lights is a huge step up from the, like, incandescent or basic fluorescent bulbs you get from little tanks. So, this tank is amazing for that. And it's just a 5-gallon. Basic 5-gallon. Yep. Nothing intense. So number one thing you need is a tank. And we're going to say 5 gallons, because this is what I'm doing. So you need to get yourself a 5-gallon tank. It could be a all-in-one with a filter like mine. It could be a basic tank, and you have to get the filter, whatever. 5-gallon tank, number one needed. Next, you'll need the basics. You're going to need salt. And I've used Instant Ocean salt before, and this stuff's okay. You know, it works. When I start off a tank, I use salt, but when I actually go to make water changes, I buy salt at a aquarium store that's already pre-mixed, just because it saves the hassle of having to get this every time. And you're not going to need anything big. This one does 10 gallons, so I'm not even going to use this whole thing for this. Some of it's just going to sit aside and go to waste. I may use it to mix in for later for water changes, but, you know, yeah. So, you do need this. Get the smallest one you need. This is Instant Ocean. It's a fine brand. Did perfectly fine last time. There's lots of different brands for these things. Instant Ocean was fine. It's a good price. It was $7. So that wasn't really bad. So yeah, Instant Ocean salt. Need that. Now, next thing you need, if you're doing especially a saltwater tank, is you need a heater. The smallest heater you can possibly find, just because, one, you don't want it to look crowded in your tank, and it's a small tank, so you don't need this absolutely huge heater in there. So this thing is tiny. Like, the tank is as big as that box, and the heater is that little thing. That's all you need, just a real tiny heater that says for your size tank. This is really important, because if you get one that's too big, it's a waste of electricity, and it can actually harm your tank. If you get one too small, it won't heat it enough, and your fish will die. Saltwaters really need constant temperature, especially if you're working with coral, because they're really, really picky. And, yeah, you definitely need a perfectly temperatured tank for that. So this is what I got. Little, from PetSmart. It's all from PetSmart, by the way. My first haul, at least, for this. And, you know, just a little heater. It says for, what's it say? Up to 5 gallons. Perfectly fine. Look, mini heater. That's exactly what you want. This is exactly what you need. A mini heater. Okay, so you should have tank, salt, and heater. And the sand is actually optional. And some of you may be thinking, what? But it's a saltwater tank. Well, hear me out on this. Some people like bare bottom tanks. Some people like kind of the rocky bottom, like crushed rock bottom. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can do sand or your substrate in your tank. Like I said, some people don't like anything. I like sand because it looks more like the ocean. The fish play with it. If you have like a little goby, the goby will have like a ton of fun in the sand. Lots of fish enjoy the sand, and I think sand just looks better. And it can be a hassle to clean at times, especially when it's old, when it starts getting old, but I enjoy sand. So this is optional. You don't need sand. You don't need anything for the bottom if you don't want it, but I'm going to say go with sand from my point of view. So I've got a bag of sand. Now, the rule of sand is at least 1 pound of sand per gallon of water. So this is the 5-gallon tank, so you need 5 pounds of sand. And you can do more or less depending on what you want. I'm starting off with 5. I may put a little more. I'm going to see how much this spreads out. I don't know. This is called live sand. It doesn't really matter. This is actually the first time I've ever used live sand. I usually just use it's saltwater sand, but it's not live sand. It's just sand meant for tanks. It's nothing live. This is the only one they had this small, so I had no choice. I've heard things, I've heard people say they don't like live sand because you can get hitchhikers in it, depending on what it is. If you don't know what a hitchhiker in the saltwater community is basically something hitchhiking into your tank off of a rock, like a live rock, or sometimes in sand, like live sand. And they can be a nuisance. Like you can get aptasia and anemones, and you can get some bad gorilla crabs or whatever else. But I never had a problem with bad hitchhikers off things. I've had my fair of aptasia. But okay, with sand, I mean, this sand doesn't have water in it, so I doubt there's anything in it. So get yourself, you know, for my video at least, once again, this is all your own idea. Get yourself some sand. Okay, besides that, you're going to need prime. And basically, if you don't know anything about fish, prime takes out chlorine and harsh chemicals and all that in the water. It makes it sustainable for fish. I have sadly proven, in a really unfortunate way, that if you do not put prime, everything will die. Everything. Don't ever forget not to do that. Especially when you're first setting up the tank. Not that it really matters. Supposedly after 24 hours, it like naturally cleans itself and you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, I don't know. Get yourself some prime. This is a little bottle, and don't be deceived. This little itty-bitty bottle can actually treat up to, where does it say it? Wait, it says, there you go. This itty-bitty bottle can treat it to 1,000 gallons. So, don't overuse this. It's not going to hurt anything to overuse it, but this stuff goes a long way. I mean, this should last me a very long time. I mean, you can be generous if you're afraid you're not putting enough, but there's a time and place for everything, and this thing should last you a long time. It's a good brand. I've used this a lot. I really like it. And it's all you need. You see all the other stuff? You really don't need that in the beginning. So, and besides that, you need a net. Yep. A net. And this is all you need in the beginning. This is it. Just for the beginning phases of setting up your tank. You're probably wondering, where are the rocks? Where are the decorations? Where are the coral and the fish and everything else? Well, hear me out. You don't do anything of that until you get the tank set up and running for a couple days. No fish at all for a while, but before you even get rocks, like live rock, you need to have the tank set up and have the sand in, have everything going, and let it run for a couple days, a week, whatever. And when everything's good and the water's completely clear, you can go ahead and get your rocks and begin that. But that's another video. So this is what you need to start off your tank. Yep, basic stuff. And I'm going to do a video of me setting up this tank just because it sounds fun, right? You want to see me set up this tank. Look at this. This thing's awesome. You want to see me do it. Okay. I know you guys are all screaming at me to show you how I'm going to set this up. Because, I mean, I've done it. I've set up too many tanks to even counting nowadays. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. This is all you need, once again, to set up a 5-gallon tank, as far as I can remember from the top of my head. Yeah, this is all I need as far as I know. Heater, because it has a... Okay, for you, if you got a different tank than I did, you're going to need a different bulb, depending if you want coil or not, and you're going to need a filter. Everything else is still the same. Sometimes you don't have a hood. You may need a hood too, but filter and bulb may be something you have to add onto your list. But it really, you know, shouldn't be that bad. Sorry. Okay, there I am again. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that was slightly helpful on, you know, how to set up a tank. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to be setting it up right now. So I'm going to go ahead and make another video of just me setting up my saltwater tank. And hopefully through all these videos you'll get to see my tank go from this to a really pretty saltwater tank in this nice little tank. I say tank a lot. Tank. So thanks, guys. And you have a super day. Now this one was kind of cut into the other video. You probably noticed how fast it jumped into this. I forgot to mention that, because I forgot to buy them earlier, because it's once again been a while since I've had a tank. But these are also things you're going to need just kind of basically starting up. And this won't take very long. It's the first thing you're going to need is some kind of way to tell the temperature of your tank. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these sticky thermometers. They go on the outside. I don't feel they're very accurate. But they go on the outside of your tank, and they tell it the water temperature by the way, you know, by touch. Almost like a mood ring. Like if you do this, if I take my thumb and press on it, you'll notice that the colors have changed. It's now going, see the 74 one's changing? Is that? Yeah, so that's what it does. Basically, you stick it on there, and these light up. The colors light up as the temperature changes. I don't really like this, but I'm a cheap person, and please don't be cheap with the important things. You know, I'm very cheap right now. I'm trying to do this like as cheap as I can. I mean, I wouldn't fall out for the tank and stuff, but you know, the stuff you should. But with this is cheap. It's like $2. I mean, it's okay, but if I were to suggest one, what I used to have, which I wish I had now, was a digital one that you put a little probe inside the tank itself in the water, and the actual display is outside and it's connected, and it gives you an accurate reading of exactly what it is all the time. And I really like that one. I had it in my sump on my 29 gallon. But once again, I'm being cheap. At some point I'll get it. I saw it at Petco, and it was $18 for that one. And I was like, no. So I got this. And will it work? Yes. Is it accurate? No. I don't think these are extremely accurate. Not to the degree. They kind of give you a vague range. But it'll work. So you need this as well, which I totally forgot to buy. You also need, for a saltwater tank, a hydrometer. Hydrometer, whatever. Hydrometer. Now, once again, I had a bigger one before, but I don't really need a big one anymore. So this one's for a bicube, and it was the cheapest one they had, once again being cheap. These are pretty expensive. This was $10 just for this. All the rest they had there were 12 and 13, and they were like 10 times the size. If you're going for a big tank, I would suggest getting a big one, I guess, but really they all do about the same. So this works by, you stick it in the water, and this one has suction, so you can actually leave it in the tank, but I wouldn't suggest doing that unless you like an eyesore sitting in your tank. I don't. If you have a sump, I used to have one sitting in the sump, that's fine. You don't look at your sump. Your sump's meant for ugly things, so put it in your sump. But with this, no. So what I'm going to do is you stick it in there, and you let it soak it, let the water fills it up, and that little thing here, see, watch it move, see? It lifts up when the water gets inside of it, and it lifts up to a little point, and it tells you what the actual, you know, salinity is in your water. So you want it to be, for saltwater, You want it to be on the high-ish range. I used to keep mine at the higher range. Not like, you know, really high, but I used to keep it up there when I had it, and the tank did fine. I tried not to go halfway or below. I wanted always a little bit above half what they always suggested. I knew the number, but I can't remember it now. So that's pretty easy. Take it out. Usually sit it on the stand, and you'll knock bubbles out. Make sure you get all the air bubbles out, because they get on here. You want it to be accurate, so kind of tap it. And you sit it there on a level surface, and you just see what it says. And if it's too low, you add some salt directly to your tank. And if it's too high, you have to add fresh water. So, that's that. And also you're going to need a test kit. You need pH too, but ammonia is pretty important. I think ammonia and pH are the most important. I couldn't find a pH one that did salt water at the Petco. But they did have ammonia, and they did both. So I think you can see it as fresh water and salt water, and obviously I'd be looking at this one. Fresh water can go away. So this is the one I'm going to be looking at. And it's very easy to do, and I find these are a lot more accurate. I find these 100% accurate, where if you get the test strips, they're just, don't get the test strips. And I mean, they may be cheaper initially, but over time you have to keep buying them. These things, I mean, I had the same ammonia kit for like 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Because I didn't say this before, because my other videos are a different channel, but I've had fish since I was like, I don't know, 15, 16. 16. I'm 22 now. And I started off with goldfish, went up from there. Actually, I started with koi, then I got goldfish, like the big, expensive, fancy goldfish. Huge tank for them, by the way. Got tetras, got angelfish, had a planted tank. Then after a while of having those, and I had a lot of betas, huge koi. I had the koi for years. I just got rid of them, actually. They were like 3 feet. But after a while of having them, I moved to saltwater. Started off with a 5-gallon tank, which I can link my old 5-gallon tank in the description of this video, so you can kind of see it. But it was a cute tank. That was it, like when I first got it. You didn't actually get to see it at its prime, and it did really well. 5-gallon did great. And my 29's up there too if you want to see my 29-gallon. But yeah, so I've had fish for a long time, and I can tell you, just from advice of having fish for a long time, that, you know, the test strips, I've had them for koi, I've had them for goldfish, they're crap. If you take that and you put it next to this will always say something different. So I do not suggest test strips unless maybe there's some awesome brand I haven't heard of. But this is very easy to use. Basically, where's it at? Here it is. Basically, you fill up, you put this in the tank, or you put water from the tank. It doesn't matter how you get the water. Usually I dip this in the tank, make sure it's completely clean. You don't want chemicals in your tank. And you fill it up to that line. Then you add the drops. Take out the lid, add the drops that it says. This one says add 8. And this one says add 8. So you do bottle 1, add 8. Bottle 2, add 8. Shake it up. Wait like 30 seconds. And then you compare it to this. And you go, oh, okay. And you basically want it yellow forever. You never want to ever get anywhere. If you're doing coral, one neat thing about coral is that the moment it is not yellow, you won't even need this to know. Like with pH and everything, if you have coral, the moment it turns anything but yellow, some coral in your tank will be pissed off. And with me, it was always, what were they called? Oh, God. They were long, it looked like palm trees. I can't remember what they're called. But in my 29-gallon, I had them. And the moment the tank had anything wrong with it, they would curl up and look gray. And I went, oh my God, it's something wrong. And I go to check it, and what do you know? It was only like there. That's how pissed off they got for there. I actually had some of them die when it got to that. Yes, they died at 50. It wasn't even near that. Goldfish? God, my goldfish were like down there all the time. But like I said before, I find goldfish are poop machines, and they're ammonia butts, and oh my God. Don't get me, I love goldfish, but they're so annoying. But saltwater tanks, it's pretty easy to keep it at this. You don't really need to check it that often. I mean, once a week and you're good. Once when you do a water change, that's fine. Really, when you're getting it started up, you're doing it most, but after that, you're just checking it once in a while. Starting up, the cycle, got to make sure before you get fish, and it is at this. So, yeah, this is a test kit I recommend. It's a fine test kit. You can get it at PetSmart or Petco or any other pet store. They have all the stuff, pH. I would suggest getting a pH one. You can if you want to get nitrites and nitrates and all the 9 yards. But really, if you have ammonia, that's a big thing. If you have ammonia, then you already have the other stuff in some way. Because ammonia turns into nitrite or nitrates, and the other one turns into the other one. But yeah, so get this kit, good kit, easy to use, extremely accurate, screw the strips. Try and get pH too. I'm just saying ammonia, pH. So, that's basically it. That, and that. To add on to my, like, what you need in the beginning. Because I totally forgot to say what you need in the beginning. So, that's it though. Alright.